the trends, energy availability factor, and the impact of load shedding on the country's supply. Let me start by introducing our speakers today. We've got Dr. Sandile Madina, our Group Executive of CSIR Mathematical Society Division, who will provide opening remarks. And we've got Dr. Kawe Talele, Manager of CSIR Energy Research Center, who will present the findings of the annual evaluation report. And then we are joined by Dr. Kenny Denver, who is acting Executive Manager, CSIR Smart Bases, who will provide closing remarks. At this point, I would like to invite Dr. Sandile Madina, as I said, into the Society Division, the Group Executive, officially welcome you and to share more about the CSIR's commitment to energy research and its alignment to national priorities. Thank you, Dr. Madina, over to you.
Director, thank you very much for the welcome. Members of the media, leadership, and colleagues who are present here. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We're honored to host you today on the occasion of the release of the annual report on power generation statistics in South Africa. And this is for the year 2024, meaning from the 1st of January to the 31st of December of last year. Today, CSIR is issuing a report detailing the statistics on power generation in South Africa, including data on load shedding and the energy availability factor. These statistics include all utility scale generation technologies, such as coal, nuclear, hydro, solar photovoltaic, onshore wind, concentrated solar power, pump storage, as well as diesel fuel or recycling gas turbines. My colleague, Dr. Kawe Talele, will share more about this during his presentation. This gathering, ladies and gentlemen, comes at a very, very important time in the life of the CSIR when we're celebrating 8 years of touching lives through innovation. This signifies years of leading cutting-edge innovation alongside scientific and technological research for the betterment of our country, South Africa. For any organization, ladies and gentlemen, to have lasting impact over 8 decades is truly remarkable and significant. More importantly, to flourish in an environment of rapidly changing scientific, technological, natural, societal, and political landscapes takes a lot of effort to balance all these factors. We're extremely proud of achieving this milestone and flying the national flag on the global R&D and innovation stage. I'm grateful, ladies and gentlemen, to the many employees who have over the decades and those that continue even today to live a life of passion of making a difference in society, in the community, in our continent, and globally through science and innovation. We're also grateful, ladies and gentlemen, to the policymakers who believed in the potential of science, technology, and innovation to accelerate socio-economic prosperity in our country. We would also like to thank and are grateful to the partners and stakeholders like you, the media, and others that we worked with and journeyed with along this journey. We are very, very grateful. We wouldn't have made it without your support. Over the past 8 decades, we have introduced a number of cutting-edge innovations from the long-distance measurement device the telorimeter, to South Africa's first internet service provider, and more. In addition, the CSIR contribution to the enhancement of the capacity and capability of the state is evident in the many policies that have been influenced by our research, innovation, as well as the recommendations that we as an organization have made over the years. We are committed to supporting our major stakeholder, the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, together with the other departments that we work with, who are responsible for health, defense, energy, agriculture, the environment, trade, industry, competition, transport, and many others in our country. CSIR's work through this partnership contributes to the objectives of the National Development Plan and the development of our country. In the energy space, the CSIR provides fact-based expertise and essential research infrastructure to address South Africa's growing energy needs and maximize the associated industrialization opportunities in terms of new products and services that are provided. Our organization responds directly to the challenges identified in the National Development Plan by providing unbiased decision support to solve the long-term sustainable energy needs of our country, while at the same time addressing issues of climate change, food security, energy use, sustainable living in communities, and developing our region and our country. Relevant to this discussion, particularly this year, as South Africa has taken the G20 presidency, as the CSIR, we are committed to contributing to this advancement. And in particular, one of the work streams that's relevant for our work as we're reporting today relates to energy transition work stream, which aims to address critical issues related to energy access, affordability, sustainable finance, job creation, as we transition to a more sustainable energy transition. As such, the CSIR is contributing to the energy transition working group of our presidential year. And in this, we'll be leading the just, affordable, inclusive energy transition priority under the ETWG. South Africa's G20 presidency offers the CSIR an opportunity to provide thought leadership, innovation, and capacity development to address the two main energy imperatives of energy efficiency and accessible energy. As I conclude and hand over to Dr. Hlalele to share the report for 2024, it is important to note that the report was shared with the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, the Department of Electricity and Energy, ESCOM, the National Transmission Company of South Africa, the Independent Power Producers Office, as well as the SANEDI, as part of our collaborative effort to ensure that stakeholders are notified of this. With that said, I want to take this opportunity to express our gratitude to the media for giving us the platform to connect with the people of South Africa. Through your support, we have been able to share the important work that we do here at the CSIR, and we implore you to visit us, to engage with us, and to get to know the researchers who work on this magnificent work, and continue to share with our public their homegrown good news and stories about our country. With that, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Malinga. Next, we will have a detailed presentation of the annual 2024 statistics report by Dr. Hlalele, who is the manager of the CSIR Energy Research Center. Hlalele, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the media. Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to brief you on this work that we continue to do in the CSIR Senate in particular. And that's just to give you an overview. The work that we continue to do started from back in 2016. And over the years, we've published a number of reports and we continue to do so to ultimately inform our stakeholders in terms of the utility scale generation also of in particular the existing fleets that we have, particularly on the electricity side, particularly on the interesting point. Maybe just to then take you through the high level view that we sort of come to understand. What we have seen during our analysis, based on the data that is readily available in the platform, is that there has been a significant improvement in terms of the estimate fleet. For residual demand in demand eventually. And what this means that we have seen that the demand continues to decline year on year, and there's been a downward trajectory in terms of demand, and we've seen a sort of a downward trajectory of 1% lower in 2023 compared to 2024. We've also seen that the generation capacity continues to improve in line with what has been put in place in terms of the generation recovery plan. And that essentially means that there's been a significant improvement in terms of the performance as far as the planned maintenance percent. And this has largely also improved what we call the EAF, that includes the planned maintenance and the reduction plan outages. And one thing that we also put into this report, in this particular iteration, is the trip analysis. And what we are seeing, basically, the analysis that we conducted, that there seems to be an increasing tariff, which points out the need for alternative sources to repair. And of course, we will delve into some of those points that we will be looking into. Overall, what are we seeing? If you compare the 2 years between 2023 and 2024, the generation recovery plan anchored obviously on the energy action plan is starting to show some sort of improvements in the main. What we are seeing is that the annual increase in coal-fired station produced roughly 7% more than 2023, and this is a result. Resulted in a decrease in the diesel and gas open cycle gas turbine and import utilization in the same period. And as a result, the improvement in energy availability factor greatly improved energy production in 2024 compared to 2023. This 4% that we are seeing. And again, this indicates positive outlook on overall that we have in 2 years. Safe to note that the total nominal capacity has not drastically changed as far as the wind program is concerned. This at the moment does exclude any other generation that comes from private sector. What we are also noting, though, is that although there has been a significant improvement in energy production of about 4% in 2023 and 2024, SA total energy demand declined by 3% compared to 2023. This is largely due to the increased generation, as well as other driving factors such as cost, as we also see later on in terms of the tariff comparison. Now, as of December 2024, at that time of the report, there was about 281 consecutive days without shedding. Of course, we know that we had jumped the 300 mark, but this particular report only focuses up until 2024. What we've also noted with our analysis is that the national average price of electricity increased annually by an average of 11% over the last 10 years, compared to an average inflation of 5%. And again, this is to point one of those main issues that we need to start taking and paying attention to. The generation recovery plan, on the other hand, as indicated in the energy recovery plan, has shown significant improvement in the energy availability factor, largely driven by the reduction in unplanned maintenance outages and improvement in performance and overall increased planned maintenance. And this, again, can clearly be seen by this trend that for the longest period of time was sort of going downwards. And just about 2023 to 2024, you can see that has been a marginal improvement. More importantly, you can see that South Africa, or even the overall fleet, managed to reach a a maximum of about 70% compared to, which was never seen before 2021. Now, the outline of the report, as you can see, will focus on the electricity production as well as the oil production. This again is to showcase the detail pertaining to some of these generation factors that we also had to look into, the EAF as well as the loadshedding, and we'll also end up with the thermal analysis, which I think is quite relevant in the current situation. Now, if you look at the 2 years that we're working on, 2023 and 2024, one thing that is extremely important to note here is that the demand side response related activities significantly declined. If you look at 16.8 in 2023 compared to 2.6 in 2024, you can see that for the most part, the improvement in the generation of the whole fleet, which essentially contributed about 81.7%, significantly reduced the total CSIR that was implemented. However, we still note that existing demand continued to decline. And again, this is one of those things that we continue to monitor. Now, if you zoom into the last 10 years, you can see that from 2014 to 2024, there's been a gradual decline in the total energy produced. If you can look at something that is of interest here, if you look at 2023, we see 166 that was produced purely from coal compared to 178. And again, this further re-emphasizes the point of the generation recovery plan coming into play and potentially increasing the utilization of the existing fleet, while also reducing the demand side the response activities that we can see. And again, while this is a great improvement, there is indeed an underlying long-term issue pertaining to the decline in the total energy demand, and this is clearly indicated here. Now, if you look into the details of each year, so 2023 versus 2024, you can see that for the whole year in 2023, there was a prevalent what we call demand side response that has been implemented all throughout. And again, the highest performance of the whole was around 74. And with the improvement in terms of the energy recovery plan, you can see that a peak of 85% was achieved. And you can also start seeing that there's been a decline or decrease in terms of the overall energy, in terms of overall TSR activities, with the peak of 83% reached around the highest in demand, which was around July. And again, this is safe to say that Eskom managed to reach the peak demand with ease in 2024 compared to that of 2023. Maybe just to also look into the details, you can see if you compare the utilization of different technologies for the 2 time periods that we're looking into, 2023 versus 2024. Of course, we can see the improvement of coal going up by 50% for the capacity factor compared to 7. And then you can also see that the improvement in coal has greatly influenced the way in which we were utilizing the diesel in 2024 versus 2023, and there is indeed that point of 6.2. Maybe just to re-highlight some of the key points that we normally look into when we measure the system efficiency. One being the unserved energy, which has to be less than 20 gigawatt hour per annum, and the other part being around the capacity factor of the open cycle gas turbine, which is around 66%. And you can see in 2024 there was that 6.2, which is slightly above that 6.6% mark that is looked into. And again, this shows a significant improvement, and this is partly driven by that 50% that you have seen coming from the coal. And maybe just to also highlight the differences in terms of hydro. What our analysis has shown is that in 2023, there was more rainfall, and as a result of more rainfall, there was essentially a high production in terms of hydro compared to 2024. On the other hand, what we are seeing is that because of the improved performance of coal, there was in terms of the mid-merit perspective, pump storage was slightly utilized more than in 2023. And of course, the other resources such as DFP, wind, and solar pretty much still dependent and vary out. Now, I did highlight earlier on that we are continuing to see an annual peak demand in 2024 that continues to decrease. And what we looked at in 2024 versus 2023 is that decline was roughly about 1%. Now this is really one of those points that we continue to monitor, and maybe just to also provide our views in terms of what this is likely actually to do. And number one, the cost driver is essentially one of the key things that we see driving this, and largely because there's been a significant increase in terms of self-generation, and also we've also seen a significant increase in terms of the learning rates of other technologies such as solar PV, and obviously other environmental constraints that may also be put in place, and we continue to see that. And perhaps maybe just to say something, I want you to take note of the 2 points, the 33.9, which was achieved in 2023 versus 33.5 in terms of the peak demand that was required in 2024 as we move to the next part. Now, what you will then see is that the peak of load shedding, and this is again a contrast between 2023 and 2024, at the peak of load shedding, South Africa, in essence, the total fleet could barely even reach 30 gigawatt in terms of the requirement per day. And again, what we are now seeing is that with the generation recovery plan, you can start to see that improvement going over the 30 gigawatt point, which was ordinarily not seen in the previous year. And in the total unsaid energy, it's something that we want to monitor, whether that 20 has been the case or not. And maybe in retrospect, these two parameters will then indicate overall performance of the system. Maybe let's then look into the details of how this is then reflected. Maybe just to put another disclaimer, this is not a binary dispatch, but rather an illustration of the load generation curve and how each technology contributed towards meeting the system demand. And what you see is that the bold line for the system demand is what was actually required to be met in any particular hour, and looking into it from the highest to the lowest point. Now, in 2023, the white space there indicate the amount of unsaid energy at any given point. You can tell that we were really not even meeting some of the energy demand that were required, largely because of poor performance of some of these baseload stations. Now, in contrast, in 2024, that peak demand that was experienced, which is around 3.5, was easily met, and that's because of the continued maintenance that was put in place. Although the overall unsaid energy still is above the threshold that has been put into the system adequacy, but we can see that there has been significant improvement in terms of bridging the gap. And of course, there are opportunities for system optimization to see how best you can add flexibility to the existing system, and that's one of the key things that we are seeing with this analysis. Maybe then just to delve into the analysis of the EAF to give context, the planned capacity loss factor or planned maintenance was higher in 2024 compared to 2023. Now, if you look at the two curves, the planned capacity loss factor of 2023 compared to that of 2024, the overall, we can say that 2024 has been a massive improvement in terms of the planned capacity. And you can see we've even reached the highs of 19%, which were not ordinarily seen around the early weeks of the year between week 1 to week 12. And this again continued to increase and continue to increase in a similar sense. Now, if you also look at the other component of unplanned, due to the high increase in terms of planned maintenance, you see that the unplanned capacity loss factors was much lower for 2024 toward the winter season. And in particular, I think I want to highlight the winter season, where we also reached a peak demand of around 3.5. We can see that there was still a significantly lower unplanned factor, which ultimately helped the country to navigate that peak season that normally happens around winter. And I think most of you have seen that there was not much load shedding, if any, actually no load shedding around the winter season as we experienced. And in a similar sense, what we've also seen in terms of the other capacity loss factors, referring to generation capacity that is offline due to uncontrollable constraints, was much lower in 2024 compared to 2023. And overall, what this has shown is that there has been a significant improvement in terms of energy availability factor in 2024 compared to years before. And I did highlight earlier on that the highest energy availability factor achieved was around 70%. And if you look at the trend, this number was last seen back in 2020, 2020. And again, this again significantly shows the effort towards the generation recovery plan. Maybe just to then bring this back to the original point of load shedding. Now, what does this mean? Now that we have seen how all the plants have performed, what this essentially means that South Africa experienced higher stages of load shedding in 2023 than in any other year. And I think the case clearly shows that the last time South Africa experienced something similar to that was perhaps in 2022, where there was about 3,700 hours, more than 3,700 hours of load shedding. But in 2023, on the other hand, we were just under 7,000 hours of load shedding. And that meant that around 190 days were higher compared to what we saw in 2024, which was about 69 days. And again, if you were to zoom down into the actual load shedding gigawatt that we actually lost in that time, in 2023, at the peak of load shedding, South Africa couldn't even meet its peak demand, and we experienced over 24 gigawatt of load shedding compared to 4 gigawatt hour of load shedding. And again, this signals another significant improvement. So what we're starting to see now is that whatever effort that has been put in the background is starting to show a significant improvement in terms of the total gigawatt hour lost due to that is not unsaid due to any event. And we can see that between 2023 and 2024 a significant improvement. And maybe just to settle this to real terms that may also resonate with a number of people. What does this mean? Now we've seen that the load shedding methods have drastically reduced. Now the cost of load shedding estimated using the high level load shedding agency estimates, right? And again, that's the one system that needs to put into the group. Now the cost of unsaid agency represents a national average. The actual cost of power interruption will vary from different sectors and based on how electricity is utilized or is monetized at a time of day and supply, right? So what that means is that the cost of unsaid energy refers to the economic value placed on a unit of electricity that is not supplied due to power interruption. And the value that we then utilize is a value that is on the high end, like the upper limit of this rotational load shedding, which is about 116 rand per kilowatt hour or 1,000 megawatt hour, right? And therefore, the upper limit due to rotational load shedding costs of the economy roughly around 8 trillion in 2023 compared to about 181 billion in 2024. And again, this seems to show a significant decline of about 83%, largely due to a generation recovery plan that has been put in place, and of course, additional generation also coming into play. And we also mentioned that the residual load continues to decline, and all those factors have greatly improved and ultimately shown significant improvement in terms of the cost to the economy. It's important now to look into the most the issue that we have included in our report, and that's because of what we are seeing. Now, Eskom aggregated tariff increased by 190% since 2014, which is much higher than the average annual inflation rate of about 5.2 over the same period. Now, one thing to highlight, if you look at the bar graphs as well as the line graphs, obviously the average rate in both nominal as well as real terms, you can see that annual increase, there were areas or times where the annual increase was way above what we call the CPI. For example, in 2008, 2009, we see that increase that is above those rates. But as we move forward, then that also subsided a bit, but it continues to still be above inflation rate. And as a result, the national average price of electricity increased by an average of 11% over the last 10 years, compared to an average of around 5% in the same duration. On the contrary, we want to also highlight that there has also been some technological developments on many ways that have pushed some of the technology costs relatively low, to an extent that the last big windows we saw very relatively low prices of electricity as far as solar and wind are concerned. And one of the key points is that about 50 cents per kilowatt hour, that's essentially what we've also seen. But it's also important to know that all technologies play different roles. So you cannot just look at it from just the cost perspective, because certain technologies may actually, certain technologies actually have very low marginal cost, but when it comes to the baseload requirement, may not perform as it is. So to that extent, while this is a good indication, it also means that there's a need to have a larger mix in terms of that, so that the cost can then be maintained from that perspective. Now, if you also look at the global picture, what we are also seeing from a global perspective is that for different technologies, the cost continues to decline, and we see that from a global perspective, solar continues to be very attractive, and in certain instances, we see that it's below grid parity with some of the low-end fossil fuel price range, and in certain instances, there are certain technologies that are still not below grid parity, and then to that extent, what we are noticing here is the importance of these prices going down, which will ultimately influence the basket of all the electricity needs that can be put into that to ultimately control this increasing price. Now, if you're to zoom into the South African context, what exactly are we seeing in the South African context? In the South African context, we are seeing that since mid-2021 all the way to mid-2026, concentrated solar power started very high and is currently sitting roughly under just 2 rand per kilowatt hour, and that's because there has not been either concentrated solar power to sort of drive the price. On the other hand, what we are seeing with the solar, based on our analysis and based on the data that is readily available, you can see that it even reached the lowest point of just underneath 50 cents, and it's likely went up. And again, these are market dynamics that we continue to track, and we see that. In essence, there is definitely a need to incorporate all different technologies as you move towards the common pathway that would ultimately help in terms of the tariff aspect of this. So, what are we saying? We are saying that the demand for electricity continues to trend downwards. The peak demand is 1% lower for this time of the year, in this case, compared to that in 2023. Due to record growth in the private sector and power generation. And again, this can be seen by the residual demand that is experienced. I encourage you to look at our report, which also shows all those stats. We are also seeing that the Eskom fleet installed capacity remain unchanged in the same year. However, we have seen that the improvement in terms of coal ultimately improved the EAF and the production numbers, which then also meant that there's less CSIR that was implemented. Over and above that, the Eskom EAF significantly improved in 2024, reaching a weekly peak of around 70%, which is much higher than that 59.92 that was reached in 2023. This improvement helped reduce significantly the utilization of diesel generators, as was already highlighted in terms of perspective. And we are also seeing that the South African energy, South Africa experienced the worst loadshedding in 2023. However, improvement in the existing Eskom fleet significantly reduced the loadshedding. And overall, what we are also noticing that the national average electricity tariff has increased by 190% since 2015, and the increase are higher than the inflation and may impact affordability. And with that, I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kadele, for the presentation. At this point, we will now open the floor for questions from the media. Please kindly state your name and the media house you represent where you ask your question. And also just unmute yourself so we can hear you. You're also welcome to write questions or comments in the chat.
So there's one question on the chat, DATM. No, the claim from 8 years. So can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. There's one question on the chat from Terence Trimmer from Engineering News. It says, what does the CSIR estimate the size of the rooftop solar PV fleet was in 2024? How is that reflected in this report?
That the only question.
Yes, so far, yes.
Thank you for your question, Terence Trimmer, Engineering News.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but nonetheless, I will try and provide that. Perhaps just to maybe reiterate a number of things. Our report currently looks at utility scale reprogram generation. While the point that is raised around the impact of rooftop solar continuing to increase is a point that we are monitoring at the moment, the report does not currently look into that. But we do see some indicators there and there in terms of the residual load that continues to decline, and that could largely be because of the rooftop solar and embedded generation that we are seeing across the country, be it bilateral between IPP and the energy supplier. And to that extent, this is clearly indicated by the volumes that continue to decline, while we are not quantifying the actual extent to which those the rooftop solar as well as other embedded generation are looking like at the moment.
Thank you for that. I hope that answers the question, Terence. Any more questions? Please.
So we have a question on YouTube, if I can go ahead and ask.
Yes.
Sure. So they're saying, good day. Please indicate whether the report is available for public download and where it may be found if available.
Okay. Yeah, the report will be published shortly, and our media team will share the link with you once that is available. But yes, it will be available for everyone else to use.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Any more questions on the chat?
No, not yet, sir.
If there are no further questions, just want to say that if you need to speak to Dr. Halele, please contact our media team, Rand Chauke and Pedro Pashmidi. They will be able to assist you in arranging service with Dr. Halele. I think as we conclude, I would just like to invite Dr. Kenny Denver, Executive Manager, CSIR Smart Basics Class, just to give closing remarks.
Thank you, Program Director. Ladies and gentlemen, we have indeed come to the end of our event, and my task is a very simple one, and sometimes yet a difficult one. And that is just to thank you. On behalf of the CSIR, I would like to acknowledge the presence of members of the media, CSIR leadership, and colleagues present today. I'm filled with a sense of profound optimism and determination. As Executive Dr. Malinga mentioned earlier, our strategy is built on the vision of accelerating socio-economic prosperity in South Africa through leading innovation. We leverage technologies, especially those that are rooted in the fourth industrial revolution, new and current capabilities, as well as those from our partners and collaborators, to position the country's public and private sectors for the future. At the core, science is more than just a pursuit of knowledge. It is a powerful tool that has the potential to shape the future of humanity. Through the lens of science, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we answer burning questions about our existence, and in doing so, we discover ways to improve quality of life of every person in this country. For 8 decades, the CSIR has been touching lives through innovation. As such, we organized this briefing, share our report on power generation statistics in South Africa, and our colleagues have, during this briefing, answered some of your questions related to energy security in South Africa. And we hope that you can engage them more hereafter. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to extend our sincere gratitude to everyone involved in making this event a success. I would like to express our appreciation to all the speakers who shared their valuable perspective, and also to you, members of the media, for the questions that you have posed. I would like also to convey special thanks to the media and those houses that have asked for questions, and also greatly appreciate the support we are receiving in covering our activities, as well as the questions, of course, that you have posed this morning. Now, our colleagues who have worked tirelessly on this, Dr. Thabo Halede, Sipho Mdluli, are available to engage the media should a need arise hereafter. For interviews, however, we request that you liaise with our CSIR media team to facilitate such interviews. Last but not least, thank you, Program Director, Dr. Becky Mpofu, for overseeing the proceedings of this morning with utmost professionalism. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again, and we wish you a great day ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Denza. And with that, comments. Yes.
Yeah. No, sorry, Jim. There is just one more question that just came through. No. I'm not sure if we can still ask.
Okay.
Yeah, it's from Terence Timo from Engineering News. The question says, how does the plant maintenance recorded in this report compare historically? In other words, when was Eskom last at these levels of plant maintenance?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay. How does the plant maintenance recorded in this report compare historically? In other words, when was Eskom last at these levels of plant maintenance?
All right. Perhaps just to reflect, in the report, you would have seen that the analysis was a comparative between 2023 and 2024. But that does not preclude the fact that prior to that, there's always been maintenance. And you would have also noticed that there had been a downward trajectory in terms of the overall EAF, which would indicate that as far as planned maintenance, unplanned, and all these other loss factors would have also been following a similar trajectory. Now, our report in this particular edition zoomed in into those 2 particular years as opposed to the historical years, because historical years, the trend has been going downwards in terms of the trajectory. And you also noted that the peak that we were able to achieve in terms of EAF in 2024, roughly about 70%. And if you compare that to back in 2020, you would have seen that 2020 was roughly about 70, just over 70%. And you can see that there has been a significant improvement between from 2021 all the way to where we are right now.
Okay, thank you, Saleh. Colleagues, as I said, we've come to the end of our media briefing. I just want to once again thank you Malinda, our colleagues from the media for say that's fine. As mentioned earlier on, if we need further the report, please feel free to contact our media team. With those words, I just want to wish you all a great day further. Thank you very much for coming.